learners and their families would want.
Oh, very nice.
Question number 9, Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. He mihi nui ki te whare, tēnā koe to the Minister of Education. Does she stand by her statement made in a speech to the New Zealand Educational Institute Principals Conference that, quote, "This idea that students have to be labelled as failures is offensive to me. If so, why?"
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Yes, I do stand by my statement, which in full actually reads, "This idea that students have to be labelled as failures is offensive to me because no professional would be using that language if what they were aiming to do was raise achievement." So yes, Mr Speaker, because those who advance their opposition to national standards by exploiting the trust of learners and their families, asserting that national standards require them to do so, are failing those very learners, their families and indeed their profession.
Catherine Delahunty.
Why then is she setting up a system which labels children as below standard and therefore a failure?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, national standards do not label children as failures. National standards help identify those kids who are falling behind so they can be provided with the support they need to improve. National standards help parents to know how well their child is doing. The only labelling that would be going on would be if someone was actively choosing to use national standards in that way rather than to inform their practice to improve achievement for those learners.
Order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order,
my
Catherine
question
Delahunty.
was, why is she setting up a system which labels children as below standard? And I didn't hear an answer to that term.
I think the member's being a little pedantic. I think the Minister explained why below standard or failure, why she disagreed with the statement that national standards led to that automatically. I think that was not unreasonable. Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
What is she doing to help children who are labelled as below standard, a term often used in reports, or as a failure by her national standards reporting system?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, about 3 weeks ago I released a 5-year plan called the Public Achievement Information Plan, which sets out over the next 5 years the outcomes that need to be achieved at learner, parent, teacher, principal, board chair and agency, what we need to be doing. So that is an explicated 5-year plan in detail by participants that everybody can see and participate in, this combined commitment to raise learner achievement for 5 out of 5 students.
Mr Speaker,
Point of order, Catherine Delahunty.
my question related to the concept of labelling. And I didn't hear anything. I asked the Minister what she's doing to help children who are being labelled as below standard. I didn't hear a reply to that.
Order. Members shouldn't be interjecting both sides of the House. But the Minister, in my view, answered the question because what she interpreted the member's question as meaning, if someone's being labelled as not meeting the standards, it means that they, according to the Minister's answer, need help, and the Minister explained what the government is doing to help those children. The member asked what she's doing about it. I think the Minister gave a reasonably comprehensive answer. Catherine Delahunty.
What effect does it have on children's confidence as learners to be labelled from age 6 as below standard?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, once and for all, the system that is being implemented does not label students. People using the system may unprofessionally choose to do that, but the system itself does not label learners as failures. No labelling is required under national standards at all. None whatsoever.
Wait. Sorry, is this point of order, Catherine Delahunty?
I asked about the effect on children's confidence of being labelled. I didn't ask whether the Minister thinks...
Order. The Minister's order. Now, there's obviously a lot of disagreement around the House on this, but that's no excuse for interjecting during a point of order. The Minister simply disagreed with the proposition that the system labels students and pointed out that, in her view, it's not the fault of the system. This is her view. I'm just repeating what she said, that if other people refer to students as failing to meet the standards. And I think to refute the assertion of the member's question is a perfectly reasonable thing for a minister to do. Supplementary question, was it the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta?
To the Minister, is she concerned that the labelling of some students as failures and some schools as bad schools will result from the publication of national standards data? And if so, what steps will she take to avoid such a damaging perception?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, the steps that are being taken to help in every one of our schools how they raise learner achievement are set out in the 5-year Public Achievement Information Plan. They're set out in the investment we're making in the Progression and Consistency tool, which help teachers to not only capture the absolute information about a learner in respect of their cohort, but will also capture progression over time, all of which is related to overall teacher judgment. OECD has commented in their New Zealand report on how well New Zealand's assessment and evaluation procedure works, and this will further embed that.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Is she offended that children with moderate special education needs could be labelled as falling below national standards without consideration of their complex learning needs? And if so, what action will she take to rectify this?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
By providing $304 million of professional learning and development over the next 4 years, there is no need for any child to be labelled in that way at all.
Question. I beg your pardon, as a point of order, Catherine Delahunty.
Yes, I seek leave to table the report, The Use of Evidence to Improve Education and Serve the Public Good by the Ministry of Education in April 2012, which shows that parents of children who are labelled as below standard by national standards could react negatively.
Order. Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection. There is objection. Question number... I beg your pardon, supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Supplementary speaker. Mr Speaker, how can the Minister claim that no children are being labelled as failures when the Prime Minister has been saying that 1 in 5 children are failing to meet standards?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Speaker, I didn't engage the conversation as to whether it was occurring or not. What I said was that the system itself doesn't require that to occur. No, your proposition is that nobody is labelling. You're the ones making that argument that the system...
I'm not sure the Speaker's making any proposition on this at all. And when the member is saying your proposition, referring to the Speaker, order. It's happened a couple of times today where in questions and answers, members asking questions have inserted you are doing this and ministers answering have referred to your and you. Members should remember they're referring to the Speaker under those circumstances. Question number 10, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises and asks,